Alright guys, let's get my driving impressions of this 2023 GMC. Oh my god, it's a Chevy. Why did I say GMC? I was just in a GMC, whole nother story on that. But anyway, 2023 Chevrolet Silverado Duramax 2500. Anyway, so this is from the perspective of a 2005 Silverado 1500 owner. If you guys don't know and don't watch my channel, my truck has a 6-liter LQ9 swapped V8 in it. So it makes pretty good power. Obviously nothing compared to this 1,000+ foot-pound of torque diesel engine with 475 horsepower. So this thing has the 10-speed. We've got Santa dead in the back seat or something. I don't know what's going on here. That's kind of interesting. But anyway, this thing's making good power. We got a 10-speed transmission. We've got all the bells and whistles. This does not have the updated interior, which as far as I'm concerned is fine. Let's just watch it shift a little bit here. 10 speed. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So probably sitting about 7th or 8th for this. We're only going to be able to go about 50 on this road. But lots of shifting, but they're all smooth. You don't feel it too much. I've driven the 6-speed like 2017 era Duramaxes of these, so I have a lot of experience, and for quite a few miles too. I have a lot of experience with a whole variety of GM trucks, and I will say, I mean, unsurprisingly, this is obviously the smoothest, quietest, most powerful version of this truck yet. I mean, that's obvious, but it definitely feels good. I like all the features so far. You got all these trailering options and everything else in here. I just stabbed that screen, sorry about that. None of this is hooked up, obviously, because I'm not towing anything. But you've also got all your cameras, which are cool. You can activate them while driving, which is fantastic. We'll get up a little closer to this car here so you can see that. Or not. There we go. There's the bumper coming in. So you gotta be pretty close. But yeah, just really good features for daily usage and things that like my 05 obviously doesn't have, and you really almost couldn't integrate without turning it into a giant science project. So if these are the types of features you want, you know, a digital center screen, all the cameras, you know, you just have to accept the fact that you're not going to get that on an older vehicle. So you know, you're probably just going to have to upgrade. Now that being said, though, from a more actual function and usability perspective, I mean, this thing obviously has a crazy tow rating and crazy power. But if you don't need the crazy tow ratings and power, let's just say that you're towing, you know, 7,000-8,000 pounds, right? You could do that with an older truck, with a 2500 or even a, you know, well-spec'd half-ton or whatever. You know, kind of comparing it to that, is this thing worth it? Well, obviously it's expensive, right? You know, this is a $60-some, $70,000 truck. If you were to buy it, you know, tomorrow, it's got 6,000 miles on it. It's all practically brand new. Is that something that you can afford? That's your first question. But if it is, you know, what are you really getting when you upgrade to something of this price point and this level of features, you know, like an LTZ trim modern truck? Well, you're getting unparalleled smoothness, right? I mean, these 10 speeds are just, they really nailed it with the 10 speed. I've yet to meet somebody who doesn't like it. I've driven them a little bit here and there. I've driven the Fords in an EcoBoost van, actually, with the 10-speed. I've driven this thing now for a little while. They all just seem fine. So that's a huge benefit. The interior quietness can't be matched, so there's also that. You're going to have quite the project on your hands trying to make an older vehicle this quiet inside. You're going to have to do like new interior insulation and try to get squeaks and rattles out of the dash. It's going to be a project, so that's okay if you want to go down that road, but I would just more admit to yourself, have a reasonable expectation that, okay, my 05 Silverado is not going to be this comfy. It's just not. And that's okay. I don't expect it to be. But if you're doing long trips, big miles towing, a diesel 10-speed, it's the ultimate vehicle that you can get right now in the year 2023, almost 4. So keep that in mind. That being said, I've always said this with newer vehicles. Every year that goes by, they lose a little bit of character, which is okay. Not everybody's looking for that, but man, there is just something about climbing in a 15, 20, 30, 40-year-old truck. It just feels nice. You throw a country song on, whatever, you know, your favorite rock band, whatever your deal is, and you're just kind of vibing and cruising, and the fact that it's not a perfect vehicle makes it fun. So it just depends on what you're looking for. again, I mean, that feeling's only so great until you hook up a trailer for 800 miles and realize, wow, this 4-speed transmission sucks, right? So it's trade-off. But I'm really starting to like what these companies are putting out. I feel like 2015-ish to 2020 was like the transition where they went from kind of normal trucks to like the super trucks. And now they're really starting to dial in the super trucks. And they're really just refining the interiors. Let's just go through some of the apps here. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's videos that go in depth detail with this, so I'm not going to go crazy. But obviously there's a ton of different good features that these things have. A 360 backup camera. You've got all this zooming functions and all these crazy things that we won't get into. But it's all pretty intuitive, I would say. Then you do have all your actual climate control features, so that's nice. So you've got just a good old-fashioned 2 gauges, and then you've got digital screen on the inside, but it doesn't really have too many crazy features on it unless you go to different views. Then you can obviously pull up different menus. So the stock screen for it is like just simple, basic, intuitive. I like it. Just has everything you need and nothing you don't. I wish it had a boost pressure gauge and some other temps, but it is what it is. Chevy doesn't do that for some reason. All these controls are kind of fine. They're not that much different spot than my 05, frankly. They all just kind of do the same things. Headlights, cargo light, 4-wheel drive. So that's kind of neither here nor there. Electronic parking brake. I don't know. It's fine. I wouldn't say I prefer it, but it's fine. It's convenient. You don't have to, do it with your foot. Kind of the standard switches on the doors you've had for the last 30 years. Trailer brakes over here now. I like that because like on my truck, I put it here, the separate module. So I like where this is. This just feels at home to me. USBs and stuff, charger. This is all fine where all that is. Great storage, obviously all these trucks now do. Console's got 1,000,001 places to keep stuff, so that's all good. The back seats actually have seat heaters, so that's pretty cool. They do have the air vents. They skipped over a generation with doing the rear seat air vents for a while for some reason. GM must have wanted to save some money or something. This also has heated steering wheel. And then again, all your normal buttons. Oh, these new mirrors. I don't know. It depends on if you like the way they look. It does make it easier to drive because your A pillar blind spot is a little bit reduced for how kind of ugly they look, in my opinion. I wish they put the regular mirrors back on it, but it is what it is. Now, I will say, these seats, I think, are rather hard and flat. I do think my 05 has a little bit more comfortable seats. I've said that before. I'll say it again. The lumbar support. Let's see. Let's check that out. I'm going to go all the way out with it just to see how much we have. Lumbar's pretty good. I would say it's about equal. But it doesn't have the side lumbar. It's only in and out. My truck will actually adjust lumbar this way and this way. So that's kind of a disadvantage that all these newer Chevys don't have that. Fords, I believe, do. At least my parents' Explorer does. That's like a 2018 or whatever. The tow haul mode button is not on the top of the column anymore. It's actually over here on this dial, and there's multiple modes, which is fine. I'm kind of indifferent about it, although it was kind of nice to be able to pop in and out of tow haul quickly with your right hand, but that's not really a big deal at all. They're refining the ride comfort, they're refining the transmissions. I mean, just watch this thing. I mean, it's quick for a freaking big truck. It's not slow. And I didn't even go foot to the floor there. I just kind of gave it 3/4 throttle. So, I mean, if you want something that can kind of giddy up and go and still haul a big-ass trailer, I mean, this is your vehicle. Or the Ford or the Ram, of course. The Ram now is getting a little bit dated with the 6-speed, but it is a great setup. But, yeah, I mean, the other big differences I noticed from my 05 is, like I said, ride comfort and all that, but it's also just like, let's just punch it a little bit. Oh, yeah. I like beating on this thing. I actually haven't until just now. But Other differences I've noticed compared to my 05, like the steering's tighter. Obviously the brakes are nice and responsive. It just, everything feels newer. You know, like I said earlier, I love old vehicles, but they're old. And even if you could compare one of those, an 05 brand new to this brand new, they'd be more similar. But I'm working with the disadvantage of the fact that my truck has existed for 20 years almost on this planet, right? So that's just something that you're not gonna get past that fact. It's just that simple. That's something you're always gonna have to deal with if you're gonna buy something older and rock and roll that. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off for sure. But all that being said, I mean, I don't know. Cost, right? Can you afford a vehicle at this price point? And that's the number one thing, right? A half ton with a similar accoutrement would be still, $50,000, $60,000 plus new. It just depends on if you can stomach that, really. So, and if you can, it's probably a no-brainer. Long-term reliability, I really can't comment on. We're never going to know until they age up. Will a 10-speed prove to be a piece of junk? I don't think so, because there's so many of them out there, and they seem to be doing pretty good. But we don't know for sure. Holy crap, that got sharp. I'm going to flip this freaking truck over, folks. Wow. See, like a nice, little half throttle, not even... It really lets this thing rev out. I'm surprised. It is not a low revving diesel the way that you would think it would be. With having a 10-speed, you'd think it just bop gears every 2,000 RPM, but if you put any throttle input in, it'll rev it right up to 2,500, which is fine. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me any, but I know a Cummins guy might be a little off-put by that, but these V8 diesels run a little different. Yeah, compared to a gas engine, obviously the diesel feels a lot different, but the 10-speed, in my opinion, compared to my 4-speed gasser, it just takes out all of the dieselisms of driving a diesel, and it just makes it feel like a normal car, just a big, heavy, normal car. When you drive a 6-speed diesel, or especially a 4-speed, it just feels like a diesel truck. I don't know how to describe that scientifically, but it just does. But this thing just kind of drives like a car that's really heavy and can tow a lot of stuff, which I like. I mean, a lot of people don't like that, right? That's the refinement thing. People like old trucks, which I also appreciate. But this kind of has a nice blend of both, I guess. Comfort and drivability with the towing capacity and the payload and everything to boot. Now, these new trucks, which I will show you after, have a 6'9" bed, and the gooseball / fifth wheel hitch location is further back behind the rear axle. Got the 6'9" bed, which is also wider than before if you look close. And then that pick point for the gooseball behind the rear axle a couple inches. And I really love that because people claim anyway they tow very well, so it's not hurting the towing performance. But then you don't have to run a slider hitch or your fifth wheel, so you don't contact the cab, and you actually just get a little bit more usable bed space and total. So from a function perspective, that's a huge functional improvement compared to a short bed truck of the past. Now the sacrifice is the entire truck's a little bit bigger. The cab's a little bit bigger, the bed's longer, it's a little taller and heavier duty, the frame is a little taller, so the whole truck is taller. But, I mean, that comes with the territory if you want to add all that capacity, so that's another trade-off, right? These newer trucks have grown. I mean, a 1-ton 2005 Silverado is just a different class of vehicle than this thing. This thing is a medium-duty truck almost. It's just so big and heavy-duty. That it's probably another foot longer. It's multiple inches higher. I mean, this is the same height as probably a 4-inch lifted 05, let's say. So it's considerable. But again, you're getting capability. Obviously, if you don't need the towing capacity, you can get this exact same airframe, but with a 6.6 gasoline engine. I think that's a great option if you're towing a little bit less weight. But my parents' fifth wheel has a big air profile. It's kind of heavy. It's 15,000 pounds. We were considering the gas, but my dad said, nope, I had a diesel before, I'm getting another one. I don't blame him. Man, there's just the level of power and just having that turbo when you're freaking towing a big heavy camper is invaluable, all that torque of that diesel engine. So, not that it can't be done in the gassers. They do really well for what they are. But if you want the ultimate in comfort and towability, this is your truck. So with all that being said, as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.